Hello everyone, this here is not a Lego product. It's from the company called CaDA, C-A-D-A. I bought this for $150 from their web store. It's not sponsored. I'm not even an affiliate. I bought this just out of interest at the same time as the little Mazda that I reviewed just before this. It's not a start of a new trend. I'm not giving up on Lego. I'm not going to be reviewing everything from this company or anything. It's just something that I was interested in personally to check out and to share with all of you. Again, $150 for this, a little bit shy of 1,900 pieces. And I did the build all live with the wonderful community over on Twitch. Be sure to follow me there if you want to see my live builds. The scale is pretty accurate, length, width, and also just general proportions. CaDA put on their website a whole bunch of side-by-side images to show the real car that this is based on, and every single one of them is something that I think they could be pretty proud of as far as how everything lines up. This has just one side build. It's this small little plaque here. This is printed. It's a nice little print on it, but you know, it's just that, just a simple little presentation thing. And this is intended to be looked at from absolutely any angle. It does not have any camera unfriendly angle. I would say the worst thing that you can see on this at all is just the diff case, which unfortunately is orange, and we'll be looking at everything up closer later. But first, I just want to give you a general look at it around some different angles. See the nice meaty, pretty properly sized tires. I think the widths, front and rear, both of the tires are not absolutely to the exact same scale as the car, but they're very, very, very close. Overall, the authenticity here is good. And this is based off of the 2022 original presentation form of Zhou Guanyu's car. So not the race trim, but kind of the marketing photos version. And you know, they got the colors right, and they got a lot of the sponsors on here as well. This does have working steering, although the steering range is not great. It is there. It does have working suspension, front and rear. It gets a little bit stuck right here right now because there is a lot of traction with these tires, and you do have a little bit of reducing of the track width when this happens. So because I've got a very flat and clean surface here, it does kind of get stuck there, but you loosen that up and it gets back to its proper ride height. Same thing at the rear. It actually has different suspension setups, front and rear. It's push rod with cantilevers at both ends. Pretty involved builds for those, but up front there's no connections between the shock or the spring holders, which look like shocks. There's a little cartridge of them. No connection between them and the chassis itself. They're just kind of captured inside. They get squeezed from the end, but there's nothing connecting them directly in. They're just kind of in a little box. It creates this little cartridge. Is the best way that I can describe it. The build of this generally was good. It's advanced. The instructions are mostly fairly clear, but there definitely are some spots, especially towards the end, where it feels like the instruction designer started to get a little bit tired and didn't put in enough different angles. I personally just had to spend more time than I would have expected, especially towards the end, kind of checking and rechecking on some of the angles and some of the ways that the parts get attached, because this does have, the CaDA does have a vast inventory of parts that are their own design, things that I personally am just not that familiar with. And as you can see from most angles, this does not use a bunch of different colors for parts like connectors and such. There are some tan bits in there. There are some dark tan bits in there. And again, towards the rear, you can see the yellow in here. You can also see the orange and white of the diff case back there from some angles. Otherwise, you're mostly dealing with black and gray connector pieces, which is exactly what collectors want and folks are a little bit more serious about model assembly. But it does make it much, much more difficult to identify parts unless you pre-sort everything out. And in one given bag's worth of pieces, you might have something like 6 to 8 different pieces that are different types of pieces, designs of pieces that look very similar, that are 1x2 or 1x3 or even 1x4 pins, axles, axle pins, and different connectors. So I do strongly recommend taking some time to do some pre-sorting with this. This does only have 4 bag numbers in total, 1 through 4, and each bag number has a number of bags to go with it. So yeah, the pre-sorting, pre-knolling can help you out quite a bit with the process. I did again do this live, so I was not able to focus 100% because when you're live streaming, you're going to be focusing a lot on being there for the community and the chat and everything. But it didn't feel bad. It's just different and definitely more advanced, which is their intention. More advanced than what I'm used to with, for example, Lego Technic. I love how this is very brave with its shaping from all angles, even down under here, where for the most part, you're not going to see that unless you have this displayed like at eye level. Most of the time, you're not going to see that, but the shaping is there. This uses a lot of different types of and shapes of the panel pieces, like the Technic style panel pieces. And you can see that the upper parts of the side pods also use quite a bit of brick-based building around it. And I think that those are integrated in pretty well. And it's just for the sake of accuracy. I don't mind it at all. There's some interesting things done with this, like this whole section here. You can see it bends up. So the side of the forward floor here bends up. Not something that I'm used to. I don't mind it though. The instructions for how to get that to fit in there were fine. They're not beholden to any other company's standards for how things have to be put together. I am not worried about this falling apart over time. I am not worried about pieces breaking over time. Their plastic is strong. I'd say it's some of the most dense plastic material that I've seen and felt in brick-based construction systems in general from any company ever. It feels right to me. It feels good. The color consistency across the dark reds is very excellent. The whites are pretty good. Most of the white pieces that they make are delightfully opaque, much more opaque than pieces that you get, for example, from Lego. And I'm not trying to do a comparison here, but just most of my viewers are most familiar with Lego pieces, and Lego pieces over time, in relatively recent years, like the last decade or so, have gotten a little bit translucent, especially lighter colors. You can see some transmittance of light into them. You can't with this company's pieces. These two parts right here, these large curved pieces, do have a slightly different color to them than the rest of the way. They're just it's just a little bit darker. The rest are pretty consistent though. I don't know if you can even see it. It's pretty subtle, but I did want to call that out. The worst thing about this whole model, just like with the smaller model that I recently looked at, the little Mazda, is just the stickering of it. And the stickers are difficult to work with because they are all clear backed, and many of them are rather large. Like this one right here with the acceleron covers the entire panel. It goes all the way out to here. You can see where the gloss ends right there. So that's all space where you can collect bubbles underneath the surface. And if you don't have your alignment right the first time, if you peel it back, you might get a little bit of distortion in the adhesive. I'd say that the actual medium, the actual vinyl there is pretty good. It's thick. It does scuff up a little bit, so you want to be careful when burnishing it out and trying to get the bubbles out. Some folks watching this have recommended that you just immediately go to the Windex method. Put some water and soap on the surface for every single one, but that's a lot of Windex methoding to do for this whole thing. What I like least about their stickers though is that the opacity is bad. The print opacity that's supposed to be white. That's supposed to be this white. That white right there is supposed to be that white. It's way off. Thankfully, this color scheme right here, this livery, is very forgiving of that. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look the way that it's supposed to. And they do advertise, the pictures that they show everything being the correct white. So that's a little bit deceptive advertising there, where you don't get the quality that you see on the box. Let me show you the underside of this as well, because that's pretty well filled in also. Again, unfortunately, just the little bits of gears there do have some color you don't want to see. The rest of it though, that's nice because Yep, I did. When picking it up, I accidentally separated these out a little bit. Sorry about that. But what is nice about this, even though it's on the underside, is the fact that if you do have this displayed at eye level or even above, you're not going to start to see big gaps, and you're not going to start to see weird colors and things. There you can just barely see up here the shock cartridge, as I called it. There are 4 of them, and they're connected together, but then not, like I said, not connected to the chassis itself. This is my favorite thing. Wheel tire combination, solid print there, good print. Got the hard tires here. It's even a good rubber and a good thickness. It's not too thin. It doesn't deform too easily. I can feel the traction on it. You can see some dust that's built up on it, even though I've been dusting it off, just because it has that mechanical adhesiveness to it. You can wash it off, no big deal. But it did not come with a bunch of mold release compound or anything. It's just all good. Again, a very advanced kind of build. You don't have just a single piece for the wishbones. You can see lots of pieces are put together to create the shape. They've even got the longer rear connecting arms towards the rear here, which are all arrow shaped these days, of course. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was particularly odd or that stood out to me. This does have an engine in it. Oh, also stickers go over multiple pieces. Just to repeat that. That's just something that this company seems to do on a regular basis. This sticker goes over, I think, 9 pieces. So if you want to take this apart after you built it, good luck to you. You can always take a hobby knife and just split it up. But then, yeah, you still have the issue of those parts being then cut, or the stickers being cut. You have a little bit of extra adhesive that's going to be exposed to the elements, picking up dust, little bits of hair and everything. It's just not the best. So beware of that in advance. If you like to always put things together and then take them apart, yeah, that's going to be an issue. This one here, oh, that didn't make any sense whatsoever. This sticker is just for that detail, but it goes all the way across all of these pieces. That was completely unnecessary. It should have been just on this piece. That was just a bad choice right there. Fortunately, they didn't do that too many times, but you get things like this. It's one sticker that goes across 3 pieces right there in a very awkward way, a very awkward place. Not too happy about that. Definitely the stickers are the worst things about this. The front suspension is because of its odd design, is not quite as smooth as the rear, but it's fine. The little yoke here, steering yoke, is undersized. Wish that was a little bit bigger, or possibly been built up. The engine inside of here, you can just barely see. You can just barely see the little pistons. It's got a tiny little V6, little small displacement V6 in there. Doesn't use the large size of cylinders. It just uses little pins, like half pins with no friction, that do a little tap it action in there. They have a suggestion of the turbos as well. One of those piston pieces in there doesn't have the same amount of friction as the others. It has a little bit more friction and it gets stuck. Not that you can see it though. Again, you can just barely see it from just the right angle down in there. And they mentioned in the description of the product that you can open up the engine compartment, but I didn't find out how that could be done. I probably need to do some more research, but it doesn't feel like it's designed to be opened up. If it is, that's my mistake, and I accept that, but I wasn't able to see anything to allow you to get access back to that. So that's a little bit of a loss there in terms of work that you do and then you never see it again. But I think it's a perfectly fine compromise given all of this shaping up here, all of these layers that are put in at different times of the build, at different points during the build, and using very different techniques for connecting them. And obviously they have a number of different shapes, which some of them you might not be familiar with if you've not dealt with this company or other competing companies in the past. It does have opening and closing DRS. It's just right there, just open, close. Doesn't have a particularly large gap to it, but also doesn't come with a stand. Just keep that in mind. But again, it's mostly flat bottom, so if you can come up with any kind of thing that just tilts it off to the side, you're able to see it much, much better. Overall, the presentation is good. Build process was not as easy as what I'm used to, but not too bad. Few little spots in there where I definitely felt a little bit confused. And there were a few spots where I encountered possibly missing pieces. One piece I'm pretty sure was missing, and I didn't ever come across anything comparable to it. Later, there were a few pieces where I don't have 100% confidence that it was their fault. It might have been just me messing up and using a part somewhere else. I tried my best to go through and verify that I had not messed up and used parts in the wrong places, but I do want to be clear about that there is a possibility that I made some small mistakes along the way. Everything looks right to me at the end. What's strangest about the build of this to me is the nose. It appears to be angled up a little bit here, probably a little bit too much, and there's a gap underneath. The whole nose attaches the nose clip, which includes just a tiny bit of the nose itself, and then the whole front wing complex. There's a gap right down underneath there. Not sure if you're able to quite see it right, but I feel like it's supposed to be flush. It was originally looking like it was going to go flush, but then when I tried to assemble this together, the last piece is a panel up here on top, and it gets locked in from above, and that pulls the whole thing back. Felt awkward. I really checked in there to make sure I hadn't done anything incorrect. I'm pretty sure I got it right, but it's just a little bit odd that is off. I don't know if that's intentional. If it's intentional, that's okay, but it was definitely confusing at the very least. It doesn't feel comfortable to me. Again, I'm not worried about any piece breaking here whatsoever, but that was an awkward thing towards the end. And that was the only thing that I really was left with feeling a little bit troubled at the end of this. There were various things along the way where I was like, I guess I need to kind of squeeze this in. Wish I had a third hand in a few spots, but I was able to get through everything. But that nose is a little bit awkward. This company, from my experience, always gives you a bunch of extra pieces, like random extra pieces, and this was what I was left over with here. I'm suspicious about these dark red ones. I feel like that was my mistake. Like those should be on the car somewhere, but I wasn't able to find where they were supposed to be. Obviously, things like this are not supposed to be in there. I guess you could try to squeeze it in there, but definitely some of these pieces are just gifts. And it's definitely something that I've encountered with other sets from them. The sticker sheets look like this, again, clear backed, and a lot of them. A lot of spacing, a lot of wasted space on there. So it's not nearly as much as it looks like. 4 sheets in total. 3 of them are like 8.5 by 11. And then this is the last one, just a relatively small strip. And yeah, I did already show you this, so that's it. Oh, for anyone interested, this is what the instructions look like in general. Pretty familiar overall layout, pretty familiar general techniques for presentation, but generally more pieces per step. More things are done per step, and definitely more steps per page than what I'm used to from the leading brand, right? And again, that's okay for a more advanced model. It's clearly targeting adults. That's a lot of pieces. Didn't feel too bad, but definitely in some of these cases, they don't give you the extra pictures like this where I feel like they should have. Some of these assemblies, some of these individual steps needed a little bit more clarification, just an extra angle just to verify. Things like this, oh my gosh. That sticker is a huge sticker that goes over both of these pieces here, and one of them is not even connected at this point. It's not even located, so it's just kind of flapping around. That was awkward along the way. Like I said, the sticker is definitely the worst, but the instructions generally okay. Not the best. They could have done a little bit better. Oh yeah, the presentation overall is fairly nice and pretty classy, as was the packaging. I mean, look at this. All right, that's the kit. That's the car. Pretty successful. Again, though, the price was $150 US, and I feel like that's a really good deal for the amount of stuff, even with its flaws. But you do need to know about the flaws in advance. If you come into this expecting absolute perfection, I mean, I've heard of a lot of folks out there who are kind of Lego haters who occasionally come through and have talked about this set, even this set particularly, as well as everything from this company, as being just absolute perfection. Everything is printed, which is just completely false. Super easy to put together, which is, that's relative, that's subjective. But yeah, again, not everything feels right. Like that nose is still bugging me a little bit. Some of the assemblies are a little bit suspect, just relative to what I'm used to. But at the end of the day, it's a display piece. I know it's a display piece. It's not a play piece. It took a lot to put it together, a satisfying amount. It looks great. The amount of stuff that's here for that price feels good. Its wheels and tires are the best. Stickers suck. Their sticker game is weak. Way too weak. They could fix that. They would increase their rating. I think they would narrow their gap to 100% by more than half. I'd say like 2/3. It's definitely the worst thing going on here by far. Crossing multiple pieces is a choice. It doesn't have to be bad just because one company deemed it bad. But obviously there are objective things that are negatives about that are cons, in the sense that if you want to take something apart, well, yeah, you have to think about that and do some extra work for sure. But all in all, I feel pretty satisfied here, and I hope that I presented some useful information, some useful looks at this for you. I'll do a separate video comparing this to the leading brand, similar type of vehicle, recent model Formula One car, same scale and everything, and see how I feel about the two after having spent some time with both of them side by side, kind of offline, so that I can really present my full thoughts, to you, and just keep it relatively casual and just straight. Just give it to you straight. So thank you again for watching. Hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.